Chapter 15. I was mad, Cole said, glancing nervously around the room. When I went to the island, I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't realize you were all trying to help me. I thought sending me away was just your way of getting rid of me. I went there just to avoid jail. Cole struggled with his words. I know I was wrong, and I can't go back to the island after what I did. That's okay. As he handed the feather to his mother, strong doubt showed in the eyes of the circle members. He had lied to them so often they were numb to his words now. I know Cole has changed some, his mother began, her voice surprisingly strong. Since the attack, I've seen a difference in his attitude. For the first time, he's talked openly with me. I don't know what should happen to him now. I feel like I'm just trying to pick up the pieces myself. She dabbed at her eyes. I just hope there are pieces left to pick up. She handed the feather on. As each member spoke, nobody argued for Cole's release. Even Cole's lawyer spoke in terms of a reduced jail term for good behavior. Each circle member expressed regret for what had happened. All of them thought it was time to return the case to the courts. The only person to speak in Cole's defense was Garvey. I don't know what all happened on that island, he said. But there's been a change in Cole, I'm sure of that. Whatever we decide to do now, I hope this change is allowed to continue. When Peter's lawyer received the feather, she held it indifferently beside her, as if it no longer held meaning. This whole thing is to stop now, she said strongly. No more. Too many people had suffered and paid a price on account of Cole Matthews. Maybe someday he'll find a way to be a productive member of society. For now, it's the welfare of society that must be considered. 2 days on an island is hardly enough to change someone. The circle needs to know that Peter Driscoll is not rehabilitating well, either physically or emotionally. He has slurred speech and diminished coordination. This is Cole's fault. It's not something Coles can fix, but he can face the consequences. Even now, he refuses to admit the complete truth. I understand he claims that a pure white bear attacked him. Does he really expect anybody to believe a thing? I'm told no such bears exist in the area he was sent. The lawyer spoke firmly. Circle justice has proven to be a waste of time. It's time for Coles to face some real consequences. She handed the feather back to the keeper. The keeper ran her fingers over the feather, as if to straighten it, as if trying to fix the damage suffered by the circle. When she finished, she turned to Edwin. Do you have anything to share? Edwin nodded. Can I ask Cole to help me with a demonstration? When the keeper nodded, Edwin stood and walked to the open end of the room. He motioned for Cole to follow him. Every eye followed their movements. Okay, the Tlingit elder began. Let's pretend this line is life. He pointed out a seam in the linoleum floor that crossed the room. He placed Cole on one side and stood himself on the other. Cole and I are going to walk the length of this line as if going through life together. This line represents a bad path that I want Cole to move away from. I have 2 ways to get him away. Edwin began leaning into Cole as they walked forward. Cole instinctively pushed back. They walked forward, pushing on each other, harder and harder. Soon they were struggling. When they reached the other end, Edwin had succeeded in pushing Cole only a couple feet away from the line. Breathing hard, Cole eyed Edwin with distrust. Okay, let's walk the other direction and try to do the same thing in a different way, Edwin said. As Cole turned, suddenly Edwin rushed at him, shoved him hard with both hands, then the push sent Cole sprawling to the floor, yards away from the line. Startled, Cole scrambled to get to his feet. Edwin offered a hand and helped him up. Cole fought the urge to hit or shove the elder. You caught me off guard, he said. Edwin smiled slightly. Yeah, life does that a lot. He turned to the group. People change 2 ways, with slow, persistent pressure or with a single traumatic experience. That's why people often change so much when they've had a near-death experience. I believe something happened to Cole on that island. 6 months ago, he would have come up off the floor, swinging after a push like that. Edwin paused, rubbing his rough hand over his stubble chin. And yes, maybe people don't change completely overnight, but I do believe they can change direction overnight. Facing in a new direction is the first step of any new journey. How can we be sure Cole has found a new direction? The keeper asked. We've heard this claim before. He still claims he saw a white bear. Isn't that proof he's still lying to us? Edwin turned to Cole as they returned to the circle. Did you see a spirit bear? Cole thought a moment. He could lie, and they would all believe him. Or he could tell the truth, and they would think he has still lied. You don't need to think about the truth, said Edwin. I saw a spirit bear, and I touched it, Cole blurted out. A thin smile pulled at Edwin's lips. That should be all the proof you need, exclaimed Peter's lawyer. Although she no longer held the feather, that should be the last time the circle needs to sit here and listen to lies. Edwin spoke. 3 weeks ago, the crew of a fishing boat returned to Drake, claimed they had seen a white bear on an island near where Cole was banished. I might have questioned in the report if one of the crew hadn't been Bernie. Who's Bernie? Asked the keeper. Edwin waved a hand. Just a friend, but I've known Bernie my whole life, and he's not a man to lie. I don't care if there was a black bear, a white bear, or a yellow one with green polka dots, said Peter's lawyer. What matters is that Cole broke his contract with the circle, and now it's time for him to pay. We give him chance after chance, and at the same time we tell him he has to face the consequences of his actions. The lawyer raised her voice almost to a shout. No more chances. Cole breathed slowly. He felt strong enough to now face whatever happened. He was strong enough to not blame anybody else. He could admit that he was no longer in control, and he knew he could tell the truth. But could he control his anger? Even now it smoldered. The keeper spoke with a rigid voice. We can't just build another cabin, buy more supplies, and start over as if nothing ever happened. Circle justice isn't blind. It's about facing the consequences. Why don't we just send him away to Disney World for a year, said Peter's lawyer sarcastically. This time there would be no free ride, Edwin said. If we sent him back to the island, Cole would buy his own supplies and pay for every penny of the supplies by selling things he owns and values. It would be much harder than before. The keeper spoke with resignation. We have no way of knowing if Cole is over his anger. Cole motioned for the feather. I know I had a chance once and messed it up, so I don't expect to go back to the island, he shook his head. Edwin told me once that anger was a memory, never forgotten. He's right. When I was mauled, I didn't get over my anger. I still feel it. Even now, sitting here in this chair. But I've also learned it takes a stronger person to ask for help and tell the truth. I am telling the truth when I say I saw a spirit bear. During the following weeks, Cole mentally prepared himself for the inevitable. He imagined attending a trial and hearing the verdict. Guilty. He imagined being led in handcuffs from the courtroom and for the first time being locked into a real jail cell. The hardest thing was to imagine being locked up, day after day, week after week, month after month. While Cole worked through his feelings, he exercised. For long hours each morning and evening, he lay on his small bed, swinging his arms and legs back and stretching to keep his body from stiffening. Midday, he worked out on weights in the center group area. He found himself growing stronger, and he realized that when he had angry thoughts, he could exercise himself into a sweaty frenzy until pain from his joints drove away his thoughts and left him spent. No amount of exercise, however, could bring back the strength into Cole's right arm and hand. It was all he could do to lift a shirt. Garvey explained to Cole after the second gathering that the circle would continue meeting without him. He wouldn't say exactly why, but he did say that Edwin had remained in Minneapolis to attend the meetings. During the next 2 weeks, Edwin stopped by to visit several times. He never said much, but he studied Cole, the way a person looks at a chessboard planning the next move. When he spoke, he asked pointed questions without explaining himself. After each visit, he left without saying goodbye. All he ever mumbled was, "Gotta go." Nathaniel Blackwood stopped by unexpectedly one day to announce he would no longer be Cole's lawyer. Cole's father had refused to pay additional legal fees, and now a public defender would be assigned. Barely 2 days later, Garvey and Edwin stopped by together. They sat down on Cole's bed and stared at him. "What are you staring at?" Cole asked. "So you think you're changed, huh?" "What difference does it make?" said Cole. He looked down at his feet. "I feel different." "How so?" said Garvey. "It's hard to explain," Cole said. "You better try." Edwin's voice left no room for discussion. Cole quit trying to think of answers with his head, and instead he let his feelings answer. "After I was mauled, when I thought I was going to die, I felt just like a plant or something, like I wasn't important. I didn't know why I even existed. That scared me. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I realized that I was dying, and I'd never really even lived. Nobody trusted me. I had never loved anybody, and nobody had ever really loved me." Edwin and Garvey exchanged a glance. "So how did that change things?" Garvey asked. "I don't know," Cole said, emotions welling up from deep inside. "I really don't know. I just know that my dad's not going to ever come back to say he's sorry. And even if he did, he couldn't change what he did. He couldn't take away the memories. So you think this is all his fault, huh? Asked Edwin. No, said Cole, his voice trembling. Mom said his parents beat him up too. I don't know where all the anger started. All I know is I don't ever want to have a kid and beat him up. Cole wiped at his eyes. What makes you think you're better than your dad or his parents? Asked Garvey. I'm no better, Cole said. I'm worse. Dad never ended up in jail. Not yet, Garvey said. So if you are worse, what makes you think you can be different? Things can be different for you. Cole swallowed hard. Maybe they can't be. Maybe I'll never change. All I know is that things happen on the island that I can't explain. I've never been so scared. When Edwin and Garvey didn't answer, Cole found himself irritated. What's with all the questions? He asked. You two are wasting your time now. Are we? Edwin said. Cole fought back the tears blurring his vision. You two are the only ones who ever cared about me, he blurted. It's not like I don't appreciate what you're doing, but I screwed everything up. I'm going to jail. Can't you see that? Why don't you just leave me alone now and quit wasting your time? Garvey cleared his throat strongly and rubbed his neck. Edwin and I are probably the two biggest fools alive. Or maybe we remember our own past too well, Edwin added. We still believe in you and think there's hope, Garvey said. Because of that, we've stuck our necks out so far we feel like two giraffes. Last night, we convinced the Circle to release you to our custody. What do you mean your custody? Cole said. You're going back to the island, Edwin said. End of chapter 15.